Welcome! Alright, so gather around because you know I love some good tea. And this story? Oh, it's piping hot! We're talking about a man named Fabian Marley. Now that last name alone should get your attention. Marley. A name that means reggae, revolution, and a whole lot of money, honey. Fabian popped onto the scene, not with a whisper, but with a bang. He wasn't just some guy from Jamaica. He claimed he was the long-lost son of the one and only Bob Marley. Yes, that Bob Marley. The legend himself. He says he was born in Trenchtown just like Bob. He grew up knowing his mother, Rafie Monroe, but the story about his father was always a little fuzzy. According to Fabian, his mother had a relationship with Bob Marley back in the day. So, the number one question on everybody's mind is simple. Is he or isn't he? Is Fabian Marley really the son of Robert Nesta Marley? Well, this is where the plot thickens, honey. The biggest piece of evidence Fabian brought to the table was a supposed DNA test. Oh yes, the all-powerful DNA test, the ultimate truth teller. The reports that came out claimed there was a 99.999% match. Well, not so fast. It's never that easy when a multi-million-dollar estate is involved. The official Marley camp have never publicly validated this test. That's a major red flag. Let's dive deeper into this DNA test because this is the heart of the whole matter. The story goes that samples were taken from Fabian and then compared against samples from Rohan and Kimani Marley. This news made a splash. It was a bombshell. But hold on. The details surrounding this test are as murky as a swamp. Who administered the test? What lab processed the results? Were the samples obtained legally and with full consent from everyone involved? This whole situation feels like a classic PR move. Announce a victory, declare the science is on your side, and hope that the story catches fire before anyone can check the facts. So, is the DNA test real tea or just a whole lot of shade? It's a mix of both. Now, you can't talk about the Marley family without talking about the queen herself, Rita Marley, the matriarch, the keeper of the flame. What does she have to say about this man claiming to be her late husband's son? Well, for the most part, the official response from Rita and the Marley estate has been crickets. A whole lot of silence. The Marley family is a brand, a huge global brand. They are very protective of Bob's legacy and his image. For them to ignore such a public claim is a statement in itself. It says, "We do not recognize you." Bob Marley officially acknowledged 11 children before he passed away. The estate has always been clear on that number. The Marley children tend to present a very united front. They work together on music, business, and the family foundation. There are no cozy family photos with Fabian. All right, let's talk about the music, because if you're going to claim to be Bob Marley's son, you better be able to hold a tune. Fabian Marley is a musician. He has a music career. He performs, he records, and he puts his art out there for the world to hear. When you listen to his songs, you can definitely hear the influence. The question is he any good? Some people listen to Fabian's music and say, wow, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. However, there are plenty of critics. They argue that while he might sound a little like Bob, he lacks the raw genius, the spiritual depth, and the revolutionary fire that made Bob Marley a global icon. It's easy to make reggae music. It's not easy to be Bob Marley, and that's a very high bar to clear. Ultimately, Fabian's music is tangled up in his identity claim. You can't listen to it without thinking about who he says he is. That's both a blessing and a curse for him. It gets people to listen, for sure. But it also means he's constantly being compared to the greatest reggae artist of all time. Is his music a genuine echo of a legend, or is it just noise, amplified by a controversial claim? So, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Let's talk motivation. Is Fabian Marley on a noble quest for his personal truth, simply wanting to know his father? Or is he an opportunist, trying to cash in on one of the most famous and lucrative legacies in music history? This is the central controversy. It's the question that divides people. On one hand, you have to feel for the guy if his story is true. Imagine spending your whole life feeling like a piece of your identity is missing. From that perspective, he's a sympathetic figure. He's David fighting against the Goliath of the Marley corporate machine. It's a human story of identity and belonging. But then you have to look at the other side of the coin. The Marley name is worth a fortune. The Marley brand is a global empire. To be officially recognized as a son of Bob Marley would be like winning the lottery. It would open doors, create opportunities, and yes, it would have massive financial implications. Skeptics see his music career and his public claims as a very clever business strategy. So what does the court of public opinion think? The people on the street? Well, it is completely split down the middle. This story is like a magnet for strong opinions. You have a huge group of people who are firmly in Fabian's corner. They see him as a victim, denied his birthright by a cold corporate family machine. They post comments online saying things like, "Let the man know his family," or "He looks just like Bob, just accept him." These fans often point to his physical resemblance to Bob. They'll find pictures and put them side by side, analyzing the jawline, the eyes, the way he holds himself. They champion the idea that Bob Marley was a man of the people, a man who had relationships with many women. But then you have the skeptics, and they are just as loud. There is a massive group of people who think this whole thing is a scam. They are fiercely protective of Bob Marley's legacy and see Fabian as an imposter trying to get a piece of the pie. They flood comment sections with messages like, "He's just in it for the money," or "Show us real proof, not just talk." All right, let's put the gossip aside for a minute and talk about the law, because when you're dealing with an estate as massive as Bob Marley's, it all comes down to legal standing. When Bob Marley died in 1981, he didn't leave a will. That's a big no-no. Eventually, the Jamaican courts stepped in and determined how his assets would be distributed. For Fabian to legally be considered an heir, it's not enough to just say you're a son. He would need to petition the courts in Jamaica. He would have to present his evidence to a judge. The Marley estate would then have the right to challenge that evidence. It would likely become a long, expensive, and very public court battle. This is a huge legal mountain to climb, and it's not for the faint of heart. So far, it doesn't appear that any such definitive legal ruling has been made. We haven't heard news of a Jamaican court officially declaring Fabian Marley as the 12th child and heir of Bob Marley. The absence of that legal victory is perhaps the biggest hole in Fabian's story. Until he wins that legal fight, he remains, in the eyes of the law, on the outside. The legal door seems to remain closed. So after all of this back and forth, what does it all mean? What does this whole Fabian Marley saga tell us about fame, family, and legacy? It shows that a legend's legacy is never truly settled. Bob Marley was more than just a musician. He was a symbol of peace, love, and rebellion. His story belongs to the world. This story also pulls the curtain back on the messy reality of celebrity families. The Marley family has to be a family, but they also have to be business executives protecting a multi-million-dollar corporation. That's a tough balancing act. Fabian's claim puts a spotlight on that tension between personal family matters and public brand management. In the end, does it matter if Fabian is his biological son? To Fabian, it matters immensely. Bob Marley's true legacy isn't in his DNA. It's in the songs. It's in One Love, Redemption Song, and No Woman, No Cry. It's in the feeling of hope and unity his music gives to people all over the world, from Trenchtown to Tokyo. That power cannot be inherited or claimed. It can only be felt. The Fabian Marley story is a fascinating, juicy, and complicated footnote in the epic tale of Bob Marley. Whether he is a long-lost son or a clever opportunist, his story has added another layer of myth and mystery to the Marley name. And one thing is for sure, it keeps us talking. All right, let's get right to the million-dollar question. Who is Fabian Marley's father, really? Because if this was an episode of Maury, the envelope would be shaking right about now. So, here's the scoop. For years, Fabian has insisted he's Bob Marley's son, and he's even got the dreadlocks, the voice, and the reggae rhythm to back it up. But as you can imagine, the Marley family wasn't just going to take his word for it. Nope. This is the 21st century, and we've got science on our side. Enter the DNA test. Now, here's where it gets juicy. According to reports, Fabian did take a DNA test with the Marley family, and the results, drumroll please, negative. The test said, "You are not the father." But wait, Fabian's camp claimed the test was botched, or maybe not even legit. They said there were shenanigans, funny business, maybe even a little sabotage. Suddenly, it's less one love and more one big mystery. So what's the real answer? Is Bob Marley the biological dad, or is Fabian just the world's most dedicated Marley tribute act? Publicly, the only official DNA test result says Bob Marley is not the father. But with all the rumors back and forth and conspiracy theories flying around, it feels like this case is still wide open, at least in the court of public opinion. And as for Fabian's real father, in January 2016, DNA testing put to rest long-standing speculation. Fabian Marley is not related to reggae legend Bob Marley. The test revealed a 99.99% probability that his biological father is Othniel Stanford. Fabian's mother, Rafi Monroe, and his sister, Sandra Stanford Walker, confirmed they never told him Bob Marley was his father and voiced concerns about his behavior. The revelation sparked widespread attention, reshaping the story of Fabian's family history. Othniel Stanford has not addressed the matter publicly or through the media. And there you have it. The saga of Fabian Marley, packed with twists, turns, and enough family drama to fill a soap opera marathon. But the story doesn't end here. What do you think? Is Fabian just chasing a dream, or is there more to this legacy than meets the eye? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. We want to hear your take. If you enjoyed this wild ride through reggae royalty, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more juicy stories, and ring that bell so you never miss a beat. Got a friend who loves a good plot twist? Share this video and stir up the conversation. Thanks for hanging out with us, and remember, when it comes to legends and legacies, sometimes the biggest surprises come after the final note.